Hello and you're very welcome to this pit stop for Rurik, Dawn of Kiev, designed by Stan Kordonskiy and published by PieceKeeper Games. Rurik, Dawn of Kiev is a 1 to 4 player strategy game in which we are in Eastern Europe in 1015 and Vladimir the Great has just passed away. Each of the players is going to take the role of one of Vladimir's children, vying for control of the land and trying to be the most successful noble. And the first thing you do is you're going to get one of the heroes in the game who is one of Vladimir's children, and they're going to represent you on the board alongside your troops in these various regions. Now the game is going to be played over 4 rounds, and each round we're going to start with a strategy phase. In that phase you're going to take your advisors and you're going to place them on the strategy board, and everyone's going to do this one at a time until all of them are played. Now when you play one, you go into a column that has space. If these ever fill up, you cannot put any more in the column. Then each player will continue going along, placing theirs in, and you can see that they've all got different numbers on them. When a number gets placed that's higher than any of those that are in there, it jumps ahead of that particular worker, and these will continue to fill up. Now these will be resolved in the order of the numbers on them. So when we get to take actions, we're going to take our number 1 first, then our 2, and so on and so forth throughout the different actions we have. But when you're placing them, you have got the possibility of putting them with a bribe alongside them. So for example, if the white player wanted to play this 2 here, but they wanted to be higher up, they could take some coins, put it alongside there, and that would now count as a power 5 worker advisor, meaning it will go above my power 4 up there. But it will still go when we get to resolving the 2s, so it would maintain its lower initiative in the round. And it's by doing this that the board's going to fill up, as you'll see. And then when we go to see, we need to see this board. So I'm going to get rid of all these advisors, but you get the idea that the higher numbers are higher up, but the lower numbers are going to activate first. So once all advisors are placed, what do you do in each of these columns? Well, basically the top ones are always just better versions of whatever is in the rest of the columns. So we'll just talk generally about what they do. The first column is muster. When you muster, you simply count how many helmets you've got and you add that number of troops into an area where you are. For example, if I was down here with 1 helmet, I could pop it in there because I already got red troops in there. Your leader counts as a troop. And just for an example of what it can be like, for example, with Maria, when I muster, I can actually pop them into an area that's adjacent to where I am, which means it's easier for me to spread across the board. So talking about spreading across the board, when you move, you count the number of boots that your advisor gives you, and you can move that number of moves. And moving each figure counts as 1 boot, and that's again going to help you spread across. Now, why are you looking to spread across? Well, one of the things is that you can attack. Now, there are 2 different types of attack. These rebels start on the board and they're seeded randomly around the place. When you choose to use 1 sword to attack a rebel, you simply automatically defeat it. And on the bottom of them all, there are randomized things that you get as a reward. So in that case, I'm going to get 1 extra fish, which I can choose to put into my trade boat on my docks to use at some point during the game. If I was to attack one of my fellow players, again, automatically I would take their troop off the board by using 1 sword. However, then it's risky because I have to draw from one of these strategy cards, and when I flip this over, this scheme card, I check and see whether there is a figure in the bottom there, and if there isn't like this, I've got lucky and this fellow would not die. However, if I flip that one over and it has got that figure, then this fellow would also die alongside the troop that I had attacked. But for attacking, I'm going to move up on this warfare board here, and lots of our endgame scoring is going to be generated when we check this at the end of the game, and I'm going to talk to you about how all of this works once we've resolved the actions in this action phase. So we can attack, we can knock troops off the board, clear off the rebels and get some rewards. There's taxation here. Now for taxation, you're going to get a certain number of carts, and that's when we have to start talking about ruling provinces on the board. If you're the only person in the province, clearly you rule it. If you're in there alongside other figures, you need to check and see who's got the most presence in there. For example, Yellow's in here with their leader, but there's a rebel in here, so no one actually rules this at the moment, it's contested. Up here with my reds, although there are 4 opposing figures in here, none of these factions have any more than 1 in them, and as long as I'm the strongest faction, counting each separately, then I will rule. So I am ruling up here in Smolensk. Why does that matter with taxation? Because for taxation, you're going to take the good that's generated in that region. If you don't rule it, however, you have to spend 2 carts in order to take the good, but you can go in somewhere where there's another player, and blue clearly rules here, but for 2 carts I could steal that wood on this round, and that would obviously annoy them. Now, ruling also counts because if you attack someone, for example, if I attacked blue in here, I would have to draw at least 2 cards to check whether I got a figure if I didn't get one on the first one. So I'm more likely to lose my attacker when they're defending. Building is how you're going to get your structures on the board. And again, in order to build somewhere that you don't rule, it's going to cost you 2 hammers. But if you rule it, it's going to cost you 1. And you can build one of these 3 structures down here. Now, the different structures are, this is a church. So if I build a church in an area and there's someone else opposing me, I can take out their figure and immediately replace it with one of my own. There are also markets. When you have a market in an area and you tax, you get to choose to get another one of the same good, or you can choose to get that good and a coin. And the last one is a fortress. And when you have a fortress in an area, it counts as an extra defender for ruling. It counts as extra presence. And also when you get attacked, that is another way in which they have to draw another scheme card to check whether they're going to take a casualty when they've come in there trying to beat you up. The last thing on here is scheming. Now, we talked about these scheme cards. You check to see for casualties for them. But scheme cards are also one of the 3 free actions you can do on your turn. Scheme cards are going to give you some kind of benefit. For example, on my turn, before or after my action, I could turn this over and hand it in, and I would get 1 extra sword to attack. And you'll see that they're linked to all the actions. I could get extra coins, or extra moves, or extra musters, or extra hammers to build, and so on and so forth. So taking them from this action is good. Also, whoever ends up on the top gets the bear token is going to be first player. The other 2 free actions you can do is you can always convert goods by using another good into either 1 muster point or 1 build point. And the last thing you can do is that you can claim one of these deed cards. Now, you draft these at the end of rounds 2 and 3, and they give you something you need to do, and then you get a reward, and they also score you a point at the end of the game. In this case, if I had 3 churches in adjacent regions, I could claim that deed, I would get 3 coins immediately, and I'd also score 1 point. And they're all different ones for handing in buildings, or for having lots of troops in an area, or for handing in different goods, and there's a whole stack of them there with different things, and they're all going to score you 1 or 2 points if you manage to do them. So we resolve all the actions, players take their free actions as they go, and once all of that is done, we get onto the claim phase. Now we're going to check over here on the claim board. First of all, we're going to check the rule. And if you rule a certain number of regions, it's 2, 3, 4, whatever. Say I'm ruling 4 regions at the moment, I can move this up. Now we check this at the end of every round. If at the end of a successive round, I'm not ruling 4 anymore and I've been beaten up and I'm down to 2, I still don't move my marker down. As soon as I achieve it once in a game, it's going to count me for endgame scoring. The next one is for building in adjacent regions, and the next one is for having certain trade goods on your boat. For example, if I traded here and here, then I would be up to having 6 good on my boat, and that would push me up into here to score 2 endgame points. Finally, that warfare marker we looked at, every time you attack successfully, you move up on here, you get 3 points for being highest and 1 for being second on there. So you get a few points for being successful in your attacks. You're going to earn some money. If you haven't moved these markers, they get you money as a catch up. For each column that's full here, you're going to get money, and you can use that again to bribe to move your advisors up but maintain their initiative level. Then we're going to draft these deed cards, which give you something to do to earn 1 or 2 points at the end of the game, refresh everything and move on. As we move into rounds 3 and 4, you're going to gain an extra advisor. Everyone's going to do that. At the end of the 4th round, we're going to do our endgame scoring. Check how far you got up on your claim tracks for a maximum of 8 points. If you've got all the way up there, these are quite difficult to get. Check the warfare track. Check your deed cards, and finally at the beginning of the game, everyone's going to get 2 agenda cards, which can give you some direction to go in. For example, this one is finish in first place on the warfare track, so I'm going to be very attacky in this game. And if I've done that, that will give me 2 extra points. When you add up all those points at the end of the 4 rounds, whoever has scored the most is going to be the winner of Rurik, Dawn of Kiev. This has been a Game Pit Stop. For more videos like this, check out our YouTube channel. For more in-depth coverage of gaming, please check out the Game Pit podcast. Thanks.